फेस पसंद है मेरे रंग में काली काली आँखें
Hi everybody, you're listening to the Khandaan podcast by the You Podcast team, a bi-weekly podcast revisiting the movies of Amir Khan, Salman Khan and Shahrukh Khan.
Every show we pick a random year from 3 decades of collectively 300 films the Khans have done and let our listeners vote which movie we should talk about. So it's entirely up to you.
Pick a team, make a vote, take us down nostalgia lane, punish us, or make us reassess a movie we dismissed.
We love the Khans, most of us, sometimes. And we would love for you all to be part of our Khandaan, because when it comes to the Khans in Bollywood, nothing else really matters.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, Justin. Justin, you have chosen for Khandaan podcast 1993's Baazigar. Why have you chosen Baazigar as your pick for the Khandaan podcast?
Listen, before we evaluate the greatness of Baazigar, I want to put it on record that I had two options. One was Swades and the other was Baazigar, and I picked Baazigar, and that's where my sensibilities lie. Like, I'm being very honest. I chose Abbas Mustan over Ashutosh Gowarikar.
I'm sorry.
And I really considered Swades at one point, but I think Johnny Lever and Anarkali ice cream bit really sort of pulled me towards Baazigar. I mean, I had to. There was no choice. And I really danced when I saw that Baazigar wasn't covered by you guys. And I felt, this is it. Like, this is why I was born. I was born to talk about the greatness of Baazigar. And I mean it. Like, none of it is a joke. I genuinely mean it.
It's a miracle that we haven't talked about Baazigar still after so many episodes on the Khandaan podcast. And it's like, welcome to the dark horse of the Khandaan podcast. You know, it's Shahrukh in his prime.
This is actually, this began Shahrukh's prime. I think he was just a year into the movies. He just had 6 films before Baazigar, and Baazigar was his first big hit. And what a film, what a treat.
So it's funny, like we were talking about, what was it? I think there was a video of Shahrukh a couple of days ago. He was talking about it, like something, I don't know what it was. I think it was like, you know, Shahrukh being charming and eloquent and talking about something very deep. And I was showing it to my wife, and she says, you know, like whenever you talk about Shahrukh, I always wonder, why are you a Salman Khan fan? Like your eyes light up. Why do you not have that same lighting up, beating of the heart with Shahrukh? And I was trying to like find like a logical reasoning for it, which I didn't. So I just bullshitted, which I usually tend to do in life. But one of the reasons I was thinking of is that he was really into these roles, right? These negative kind of roles where he's like super bloody, and like this was also the period of where people still call him Hakla Khan, you know, the like a lot of stuttering going on and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you know, in fact, before DDLJ, because DDLJ was a game changer for Shahrukh and his sort of turnaround for the image. Before DDLJ, he really wanted to be this big badass action hero Bollywood star, and it really helped him because 3 of his films, consecutive films, starting from Baazigar, Dar, and Anjam, were those kind of films, and he really enjoyed that image. He really wanted to live with that until Aditya Chopra offered him DDLJ, and he wasn't up for it. He was extremely reluctant to sign DDLJ for the very same reason.
Even Ram Jaane, right? That was like, he did 4 of these, right? I don't know if you mentioned Ram Jaane, but like there were like 4 of these. And for me, Baazigar, rewatching it, I was like, this is actually the best one out of the 4, I feel. Like, I really like Baazigar more than the other 3.
I was actually watching this and I was actually thinking back to the kind of roles that Amir and Salman were making at the same time. And you're right, like what Asim was saying, you know, like they were, and I thought of it especially during like the sexy songs that, you know, that he was doing with like Shilpa and with Kajol to an extent as well. But like Salman and Amir at the same time were like, you know, playing these college boys, and they were like kuchi-cooing behind trees. And then you have Shahrukh in like a succession of tabelas making out with these women, looking like he's like actually having sex with them. Like I can see why like he was so different, you know, the entire entire vibe that he puts out is so entirely different from what the other two were doing, that he just really stood out.
Like rewatching Baazigar, this whole movie is about when Shahrukh is on the screen, all other men are puddus. Like they get friend zoned. Like every other man gets friend zoned because Shahrukh is just there with his raw sexuality. This is what Baazigar is about. Like, मैं आ गया हूँ, कर लो जो करना है. You know, that's what this is like. This movie is a statement more than anything. I do have to mention first of all, like the poster of this movie. Shahrukh is dressed like a pilot. Have you noticed this?
Oh,
It's from the Baazigar title song Dream Sequence. And like, it's interesting to see that even in the dream sequence of what Kajol imagines her man to be, Shahrukh is like, here's my violent pyar.
Wait, can we start with that song? Because I have so many thoughts about that song.
This is like Hello Brother all over again.
No, but because you know what? Like that song is such an integral part of my childhood, right? That, you know that scene where they're on the boat and Kajol is wearing that navy blue dress with the choker and she turns around and she blows a kiss at the camera. That was the very first scene that I'd ever seen of Kajol. Like, the song was playing one day on TV and I was just walking past and it was that image on the screen. And I remember just stopping in my tracks because I was like, who is that woman? You know, like how all the kids talk about like, oh, like I'm straight, but I'd totally be gay for like XYZ. Like, I feel like my entire generation of women were basically gay for Kajol. And like, she's so amazing. And like the two of them, okay, let's start with the costumes in that song because
The Mask of Zorro.
it is amazing, right? Like you have Kajol and Shahrukh wearing like normal everyday clothes and they look so fresh, so young, so hip for the time.
So hot.
And they're so attractive together.
Yeah.
And then you have them in their very special outfits, which is literally the local darzi, like, you know, like put up something. It's like the Halloween costumes your mom makes or something, you know. It's like, I think I had the dress that Kajol is wearing, the pink, you know, dress with the flowers. I think like my mom made it one time for a costume party for me, except it was in green. So it's like super special, you know, it just sort of veers between absurd and like they're really hot together when they're wearing like normal clothes. And also Shahrukh in his short shorts, which was a real statement because I don't think men were wearing short shorts at the time, but you know, he was wearing it and he clearly didn't skip leg day, which is again a rarity. And it was like the two of them together are like magic from the get-go, you know, like the moment they meet on the racetracks to like them just moving straight into the song, they are absolute magic together. And I enjoyed it so much. Like I haven't seen this movie in a very long time and I was really happy the moment the song started.
That scene where Shahrukh is talking to Kajol on the racetrack, if there ever is a definition of ovaries exploding, it's that sequence.
You can see it in Kajol's eyes. Like, it's gone. It's burst now. You know? Everything's on the wall.
Yeah. But this whole
but yeah, that's just like it's up there on the Bollywood pop culture wall, right? That particular scene, हारने वाले को हार के जीतने वाले को
क्या कहते हैं?
And did any of you guys watch the film companion interview that they did with Abbas Mustan?
Yeah, I did.
They actually mentioned Shahrukh just freestyled that he added that himself, and what an iconic moment to add that one extra line, क्या कहते हैं? You know, like that makes the whole scene. And like watching it, I really feel that Shahrukh really had a hand in this movie. Like, he made it his own. Like, this movie went to everybody. It went to Akshay Kumar, it went to Salman, it went to Anil Kapoor. But none of that would have worked because Shahrukh had so much input. Like, also just that nonsense that he adds, like, you know how the way he puts in his contact lenses. Like, I've been wearing contact lenses for decades now. I've never had to put them in that violently.
This movie makes contact lenses look like sci-fi.
And like the darkest lenses ever. Like they're like black lenses. Like, oh god.
No, but I agree.
I'd forgotten
The casting, sorry, I'm cutting, but I agree because the film takes a lot of cinematic liberties, right? I mean, right at the start, we have to first imagine Dilip Tahil as this world champion racer, which is in any way absurd. And we are made to believe that. And then on top of that, you needed someone like Shahrukh to pull off that role, because here was a character who was falling in love with women immediately, quite sort of randomly and rapidly, and it had to be done by someone who was extremely charming. Because Shahrukh was doing that, because Shahrukh was falling in and out of love with Shilpa Shetty and then Kajol, it made sense because he himself is so charming. So I think that really worked in the film's favor.
Yeah.
I was also listening to a few interviews, and it's funny the things Shahrukh connects on in a screenplay. Like, first of all, it's hilarious watching these old Shahrukh interviews because he has such disdain for the media. Like, he's just like chewing and smoking. He's not even looking at the person he's interviewing. He's just like talking and, you know, but it's so cool. But he really connected on this idea that at the first part, you don't know if these are two guys or one guy. And in the interval, it becomes clear it's actually one guy. And I was like, no, that never makes, like, I never thought that. I always knew it was the same guy. Like, that didn't make any sense.
We all knew Clark Kent is Superman.
Yeah, it was just like, yeah, wow, that's what he connected on, because in the movie, it doesn't seem to work that way. And the other thing he connected on is that until the Shilpa Shetty murder sequence, it is a straight Gharib boy falling in love with an Amir Ladki kind of Bollywood conventional thing.
Right.
Which, that is true. Like, I remember the shock of him dropping Shilpa, right? Like it shook me to my core, and rewatching it like in the last week, I had those feelings back. Like, oh my god, I remember when I first saw this, and there was no spoiler culture, there was no, you know, like rumors going around or like somebody messing it up or social media. So for me, this was like totally new, and also I didn't have that much background on who Shahrukh was as an actor. I didn't know who Shilpa Shetty was. I didn't know who Kajol was really, and so it was really a fresh experience. And I don't know how it was for you guys, because I was always like, you know, I was in an insulated situation in Belgium, but how was it in India, the shock of Shilpa dropping from the building? Like, can you guys tell me like how that was? Amrita?
I mean, it was pretty shocking. Like, it was all anyone could talk about for days, because Shahrukh was already like pretty famous for those of us who were watching TV at the time, right? But Shilpa was, this was a debut movie, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And Kajol, again, I think she had done Bekhudi, but this was her second movie or something. So, like, you know, Bekhudi was pretty flop. But everyone saw, like, her face had just begun to become familiar. And then, like, Shahrukh just came out of nowhere and just threw her right off that building, and we were just like, you know that gif of like the Lion King where like the guy like throws baby Simba, like that was basically what was happening. We were just like, what did he just do? But it's interesting that you mentioned that Shahrukh thought that the audience would be confused, because now it makes sense why he put in so much effort into making like the Ajay character such a doofus with Shilpa versus like, you know, the version that he plays with Priya. I guess he was trying to draw a differentiation between the two, but yeah, I don't think anyone actually bought that.
No, he dresses them differently. He has different body language. He as an actor, he puts in the effort to kind of create two distinctive characters. And even like in that where the reveal happens and he's doing the monologue in front of the mirror, which is actually a monologue to the audience. He is putting the effort as an actor. I think the movie doesn't really make that distinction really
like the movie
well.
is what you were saying, like this is probably one of the better Abbas Mustan movies because it has a plot rather than just I think like a lot of their movies, especially of late, is just them trying to recreate that shock moment where Shahrukh throws Shilpa off the roof. Like they're just trying to chase that high. But there's also the fact like this movie is really sort of wobbly in certain regards. Like that whole relationship between Seema and Priya. Like I think Seema is supposed to be the elder sister, but then Priya is like from Shimla and she's finished her college. So it's like Seema just slow? Like what is happening?
I feel the movie treats Shilpa Shetty quite badly in generally. Like it treats them.
No, she's just like too pure for this world,
I felt so bad for Seema this time around. Like, like she brought her Mangal Sutra and she's like showing him and she's got like their photos in it. And I'm just like, you poor baby, you don't deserve that.
Yeah. But also the way she's shot, like the first sequence is basically the camera on her ass.
Yeah.
Like when she's like on the thing, it's like her camera in her décolleté. She almost felt like a maid in a Barjatia movie. That's how she was being treated.
No, it's true. But then there's also those two weird guys that keep leching at her for no good reason. What is that about?
Yeah.
And Charlie, I think the other guy. So very extremely weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think we need to like also talk about like how big of a musical hit this movie was, right? Like, and I honestly have to, I'd forgotten like how big the songs, like I was singing them, like watching the movie, I knew all of the lyrics, which मुझे तो ये भी याद नहीं रहता what I ate last night. So that I can remember a song from like 20 years ago is a thing. So, but yeah, it's so good. Like also just that those lines, I remember them so well. Ke दिल की दीवारों पे मैंने नाम लिखा है तुम्हारा. It's like iconic lines. Like it's like melding of good music with good lyrics, with shot really well. These actors that are fresh. Justin, man, what were kind of like your favorite songs out of the soundtrack?
Listen, I love Kali Kali Aankhein. I think that's primarily because I grew up dancing to that song, and I think I discovered Baazigar through Kali Kali Aankhein. I think I heard the song first, and then I sort of went back and saw the film. So it's an extremely, and I love the songs. I agree with Asim, because when I was watching the film recently, I was humming too, and I was sort of going back memory lane and trying to remember what I was doing when I heard these songs first, and they hold so well. And what I also like was how Abbas Mustan really treated this as a musical thriller. They weren't just doing the thrills and drama or the shock. They were really invested in the music as well, and it's so good. I mean, it shows up even in some of the later films like Race, where the music was really kick-ass, and even Aetraz for that matter. So I agree, I think music was so integral to the script, but then I also saw Film Companion's interview with Abbas Mustan where sort of they confessed to Anupama how they don't really tell music directors the sequence. They ask for a good tune first, and then they devise a sequence for the song to be fit in. And I thought that was mad. Like, to reverse engineer your script to cater to a song, I think it's f***ing genius.
It does take madness to discover the genius of Abbas Mustan. What I found really interesting in this rewatch was that the Ajay and Vicky character, they were different playback singers. Like Baazigar Kali Kali Aankhein were sung by Vicky and they were sung by Kumar Sanu, whereas Kitabe Bahut Si and the other one, Ae Mere Humsafar, were sung by Vinod Rathore for Ajay, which was like, oh, wow. Do you expect Abbas Mustan to have done that research? I don't know, but it's a happy coincidence and I'm happy to live with it. You know?
Yeah. So I did like, also it was funny that, you know, like Ajay, when he's, you know, wearing he wears really bad clothes, like actively, like, but because it's Shahrukh,
oversized suits.
Yeah, but it's Shahrukh, it's like wearing a brown coat with black pants and black socks and a purple t-shirt. It still looks good. Like, I don't know how he pulls it off. Like, it's insane. Yeah, it's I kind of like that. I also like that it's so fun, like the energy of the songs, like especially like the Kitabe is the first song, and I'd forgotten how many little gags are in it, you know, like the Shahrukh in a towel, and then you know, Shilpa chasing him instead of him chasing Shilpa, and then that little thing where I don't know why he touches her cheeks and they get like hair on them, and then he's like pulling off the hair. Like, why did he have so much hair in his arms? I didn't understand, but it was just like a lot of these cute gags, and I thought it was fun that Shilpa kind of got to do like a bit of comedy within the song, because in the movie she doesn't get to do that much, I feel, but in those song sequences she got to do a little bit more. And it is one of those I think this was an interview from Saif a couple of weeks ago, maybe also Film Companion, because that's the only thing I've been watching. He said that a lot of his career was sustained by being a musical hero, right? Because he had good songs, he could have a career. And I feel that's also what Shilpa Shetty did in Bollywood. Or, you know, like, just have good songs. And because she doesn't...
But that is true for a lot of actresses in Bollywood as well, right? You try to chronicle any actress's journey, you go back to the songs first. Like, be it from Madhuri Dixit to Sridevi to Rekha.
Those have songs, but they also have movies to fall back on. Can you tell me 3 good movies that Shilpa Shetty was in? I don't know. Like, I like Shilpa Shetty, but which are 3 movies that she stood out in? I don't know.
I loved her in Dhadkan. Fun film.
Sujoy.
This is where we insert the audio by Pitu Sultan.
No, I feel, you know, the thing that struck me this time around when I was like watching this film is that Kajol and Shilpa are so young in this, right? Like, they're like, what, 18, 19 years old. And
17, 18 they were.
And it's the same age as Noni Pandey, right? Like, it's that same, like,
oh Lord,
same age range. But the difference between these girls and like Noni and her contemporaries is like night and day. Because you can tell like these girls are like talented, and you know, they seem so like, they seem like actresses, you know, as compared to like Bambi and the deer in the headlights. So it's like, you can really see why Kajol went on to have the career that she did. And also, by the way, anybody who sees Kajol in this movie knows that she's had skin lightening done, because that is not a tan. Like, that is like a proper skin tone that Kajol has in this film. And she's so beautiful, you know, like with her light eyes and her big curly hair. I hated it when she straightened it out. Like, I was so sad. And she's got, you know, she's just hip in this film, you know, like she's just a young Bombay girl, and I enjoyed her so much in it.
This movie has Kajol's original color and Shilpa Shetty's original nose.
Yeah.
That's both of them. Shall we talk a little bit about the revenge side of things here? Because that gets a bit, it gets quite larger than life, right? And I like the whole Madan Chopra of it all. Like, first of all, I like the name Madan Chopra as a villain's name. It just has a very nice sound to it. And I don't know if it's just because it's Shahrukh, belting like Madan Chopra, that, but it's just like said in my mind. But I was like, when they introduced Madan Chopra, I was like on board with Team Chopra. I was like, yeah, he wants production to rise in his factory. I'm on board. He doesn't want to pay for the houses for the employees because the check covers it. I was like, yeah, I get that. That seems to be like an Indian thing, right? Employees need to get housing from the company, which I'm European, so I don't get that. He was like, he's sending his second in command to take charge of the new company that he's bought, which is good. A new company should have new management. He's also really clear on branding. He has Seema Garments. Sara maal bahar jata hai, andar kuch nahi rehta. So I was like on board with him for a lot of things. But then his treatment of, like, he's like Dharmendra, where Kajol is his Bobby Deol and Shilpa Shetty is his Sunny Deol. Like, he clearly doesn't like her.
Dear. What I don't understand is, like, how much power does power of attorney have? Sab Sharma Chopra ban gaya and then Sab Chopra Sharma ban gaya.
Like, there's no stopping him. It's really like a lot of power, right? Like that power of attorney.
Yeah.
What I also like, how both these guys, I think the senior Sharma and then Madan Chopra were so cut off when they gave power of attorney. Like, they just gave it and went away. Like, we don't care what happens for 4 years and then you return. Yeah. I mean, it's so bizarre, but it's also so engaging when you're watching. It's like, I remember when the senior Sharma was giving the power of attorney to Madan Chopra, he was like, Mujhe Assam jana hai, I'm sort of trying to establish a tea estate. And then it'll take a lot of time to set up. I'm like, what the f***? Tumko majdoor ho kya? What will you do there? Like, you were just buying a property. It didn't make sense, and yet it made a lot of sense.
But how long did he go to Assam for? Was it like 4 years?
Yeah, a very long time. A very long time.
Because you mentioned 4 years. Like, where did you get that information from? Like, I didn't know. Like, and how far is Assam? Is Assam far?
Yeah, it's quite. It's.
Assam is where I am.
That's not that far. Maybe that's just in the 90s, distances. Like, yeah, like, also, like, why are you giving the power of attorney to anybody? Like, you're just going to buy some tea fields, and he was going to go to a conference in Germany. And he's giving the power of attorney. Like, what is this? Like, how many decisions do you want to give? For rich people, they're very dumb people. So maybe that's something about, rich people that the movie is trying to say. I was also wondering, because this is one other movie where Rakhi is pretty much in Sadma for the whole movie, which is all of Rakhi's career in the last 30 years, I think. I feel she felt guilty because it was her fault that her husband gave Madan Chopra a job back into the company. She was like, "Nahin, I feel he's good now. Like, maaf kar do." And I was like, "Why? Like, he stole a lot of money."
But, like, coming back to Rakhi, how sad is her life though? Like, the first thing that, like, before she loses her memory and goes into the comatose Sadma state, the thing that she remembers was losing her husband and losing her daughter. And then she comes back to senses and to see her grown-up son being beaten black and blue. Yeah. And then he dies in her arms.
Yeah. But can we talk about that climax scene? So, that scene where, and I'd forgotten the scene, but they've been fighting, and of course it's Shahrukh, so there's this blood and all the bodily fluids that you can see. Like, the movie starts, like, Shahrukh's introduction scene is him, like, sweating like a pig, and you're just like, where is all this sweat coming from? Like, does a human being even produce this much sweat? Like, you'll just dehydrate yourself. But the end of it, like, he's just blood everywhere. There's blood in his eye, there's blood in his mouth, there's just bleeding everywhere. And then Madan Chopra spears him with that iron rod thingy. Meanwhile, the police are completely useless and just staring, and they're just like, wahan pe ye ho raha hai.
I'm telling you, that police wala is like, mera number abhi aaya.
What? Conspiracy. वो लंबी खेल रहा है, लंबी इस का घोड़ा है.
Sub setting. So the police wala is just standing there watching, and then Madan Chopra starts laughing because, you know, he's just speared Shahrukh through the middle. And then Shahrukh starts laughing. And I love that shot so much because he is so good in it. Like, he just completely changes the chemistry of that scene just by, like, you know, the way he laughs. And then he, like, spears, like, takes the thing that's, like, spearing him and then kills Madan Chopra with it, you know, like, it's a very, I mean, there's a whole meta thing that you can talk about, you know, like the two of them dying by the same means, and like what Shahrukh said earlier about Madan Chopra being his mentor and everything. But also like Shahrukh's performance in that scene. I mean, up till then, it was just like him being all bloody and like, you know, actiony and stuff. But it's when he started laughing that I was like, yep, that's the Shahrukh that everybody was like totally scared of.
It's that.
Yeah, I mean, that whole villain laughter that Madan Chopra is projecting, and then you go to Shahrukh and he's like, you laugh like that, here's the super villain laugh, you know, that's going to sound loud over the decades that is to come, you know. This is the era of Shahrukh.
For me, it's that bloody shaking underlip that kind of like trembles, and then he starts, and it's like so good, man. And we saw it, like, it became a thing. It became like in Chahat, it was Apun Ko Nahi Lagta, and you know, Ram Jane. They used it in a lot of movies, but this was the first one, and it was still the best one. It's so good. But also, like, just generally, Shahrukh, he's such a complete hero in this movie, right? He does the romancing, he does the dancing, and he's so good in action too. Like, because even earlier there's another scene where it's kind of like action comedy, like Kajol is getting harassed, and then it's like a little bit of comedy, little bit of sexual harassment, like all of it together, like a 90s, you know, kind of thing. But just the action of it, like Shahrukh is so good, and he looks good in these really cheap fake leather jackets, you know. But yeah, like it was a star in the making, right? What do you think, Justin? What do you think of the action sequences?
No, I agree. In fact, the garden sequence where sort of the goons are chasing Kajol, and I love that one particular shot a lot where we hear punches and kicks, and then cut to Shahrukh and Kajol walking together, sipping coconut. I think that was such a stylishly shot, cool sequence. It can totally be in a Salman Khan film, you know, because it showed that swag. Like, I don't give a damn, I'm still with my lover and having coconut water. I think that was so cleverly choreographed. And I can only imagine it would have been a hoot in cinema halls. You know, imagine that kind of sequence playing on the big screen where your leading star is beating up goons and still making sure that the coconut is shared equally. I think it was phenomenal.
And I think also it's funny because they just had made Khiladi before this. And which is, like, Khiladi has awesome action, but it's very dependent on Akshay Kumar's martial arts skills, right?
Right.
And here, Shahrukh doesn't have those skills, but still, the way he's so physical, right? It makes he really sells those action sequences where it doesn't.
It's very gritty. It's very gritty, and also there is a sort of throwback to Khiladi in the way the final action is shot, where both of them are kind of slow motion and the sound is echoey, so it almost feels like we are immersed with them. We are sat in that particular area and looking at them kick butt.
You know, I loved in the climax when Shahrukh is sort of beating up all the sidekicks, and the camera sort of focuses on their faces after Shahrukh has beaten them up. Like, they have glasses on their face, and it's like, here goes a zoom. And I really liked that effort to sort of make the audience feel that, you know, they were really beaten black and blue. I mean, there were random close-ups of these people with glass in their face, and bizarre but so pulpy.
I think the last sequence where Madan Chopra comes into his house with his goons, right? And they're all dressed up in suits. I think that was really that was really inspired by like Hong Kong cinema. Like, it really reminded me of John Woo, The Killer, Hard Boil, that kind of thing. And I think they were probably the first to have such, like, they became well known as action directors, and you see why that was. You know, if you have Khiladi and then you have Baazigar following up with straight away, and it's funny because they seem to have moved away from action into more like a thriller zone, where I think they're really strong in action, or they at least were in that time. And I think that's the other aspect of Baazigar too, that the thriller of it, the whodunit aspect, is also very strong.
Yeah, and also like how they even incorporated Johnny Lever into it, where there is the whole comedy element of him being the, you know, the guy who the absent-minded guy, but then he becomes crucial in one of the sub-threads of this plot. And even the guy who we are introduced in the beginning, the friend, that also plays into the picture with Kali Kali Aake.
Yeah.
So yeah, that the whole who done it and how done it and all the connecting the dots was part of Abbas Mustan, as they said in that interview, that they were heavily influenced by Vijay Anand's films and also by Manmohan Desai's films, and so we get that as well with the Andhima Vidwa Ben kind of montage.
And another Shahrukh flourish that he added when he kills one of the friends, he eats the photograph. And that was again Shahrukh deciding to do that. And it's such a crazy thing to do. And it almost reminds me now of, remember Red Dragon? Where he eats the painting. It almost reminded me of that, although, you know, Baazigar has done it much, much before Red Dragon did. But it was like, wow, this is such a cool thing to do of Shahrukh, you know. And it is all preposterous when you think about it, because when he kills that friend zone guy, you know, whatever his name was, Raja or Mooli or whatever, the guy that's
Iki Miki Chiki.
Yeah. No, the guy that's obsessed with Shilpa, right? He basically kills him, and then he starts typing a letter, like with a typewriter, which is the loudest instrument ever, and he's like typing away happily ever after.
By the way, that's Dabu Malik, the actor who's playing it, is Dabu Malik. He's the brother of Anu Malik and the father of Amal and Amal Malik, who are the music directors of this generation.
Oh, wow. Okay. I did not know that. What else do we want to talk about here? Anything else?
Johnny Lever, man. Johnny Lever. We haven't talked about Johnny Lever.
Hey, this is the second movie of Johnny Lever that I like. Like, I liked him in Hello Brother, and now I like him in Baazigar. And I feel maybe I need to revisit all of my opinions about Johnny Lever, or these are the only two good Johnny Lever movies. Like, I don't know what it is.
I just wanted to say, like, I had completely forgotten that when they introduced Johnny Lever, he sings Kabhi Bhula Kabhi Yaad. I was like, yeah, man, such a great reference to his character. Like, all the iconic lines and everything, like, oh, Babulal, chai ki patti bhul gaya, and all of that. And he laughs along with Dinesh Hingu. That's all etched in my memory, but I'd completely forgotten about Kabhi Bhula Kabhi Yaad Kiya. So good, so good. And like, he also said, like, Johnny Lever improvised the Anarkali line in the movie. It was not in the script. He was supposed to say "Main bhool gaya" or something, and he just said "Anarkali ka phone tha, ice cream khana bahut zaruri hai." So good.
I think it's very interesting the casting of Johnny Lever, because I mean, here you have a character suffering from a memory loss in a murder thriller. I think that plays out really well, because for rest of the characters he's pretty unreliable almost always. And I think that was such a smart move by Abbas Mustan to sort of place a character in a very taut murder thriller who people around him will never really believe. I think that was a very smart move.
Yeah.
Like, we were used to in the 80s and the 90s to have this comedy uncle subplot, whereas this is integral to that whole actual murder mystery.
The other guy was also I also was laughing at the police officer guy, which I don't know that actor really well. I just remember him from Vansh and this movie. These are the only two movies that I know of him. I think he's passed away, unfortunately. But you know, like, there's this flashback in Chupana Bhi Nahi Aata when they were in college.
Yeah, and he's written Priya on his hand.
Yeah.
He's covering his hand and he smiles.
And I was like, oh my god, man, 90s ka pyar sucked really bad, man. Like,
No, but
maybe Tinder is not a bad idea.
But it's like so funny to me, like, you know, like both the sisters have like some guy that they've really friend zoned, and both of them thought that they had a chance. Like poor Ravi, like, you know, after Seema dies and Priya's talking to him, and Ravi's like, yeah, even I thought that Seema was in love with me until I saw her with another man. And he's just sitting in class taking notes for her while she's out with Shahrukh. And this poor guy is like, but this guy, like, you have to imagine, like, when he got the narration for the role, like, that role was basically the hero's role, right? Like, he is a police officer and he helps solve the murder. He has this tragic backstory, and then the other guy also dies at the end of the film. So, you know, like, he gets to presumably get the girl, maybe. And I'm like, this poor guy, like, nobody even remembers his name. Like, it's so sad.
The other thing that I also noticed watching Baazigar is how many Amitabh references there are in this movie. Like, obviously the whole thing is very much Trishul, right? The kind of power dynamics of business and things like that. And even that sequence where he puts his feet on the table, Shahrukh, and you can see the building through his foot. I don't know which movie he got that for. Was it Diwar or was it Dawn? One of the other. But I remember him mentioning that he specifically got that from Amitabh. And then also, even the death of Shahrukh felt very much like Agnipath when I was rewatching it now. You know, Maa ki god mein sone de mujhe maa, you know that? And I think it was something that Shahrukh was just kind of like emulating, taking from, you know, Amitabh. Or maybe it's just a connection that I'm making. But there were a few sequences here where I felt, this is all very kind of like, it feels like, you know, the baton is passing from Amitabh's era to Shahrukh's era, you know?
You know, the thing with Baazigar and why I think I particularly sort of find it a better sort of a revenge drama as compared to Dar or even Anjam was that it really had a lot of flamboyance going for it. I believe Dar is a more polished film, of course, because of Yash Chopra directing it and Vairav behind it. But I think Baazigar's fun is in its sort of tackiness. I mean, of course, it's not tacky, but it's so flamboyant. It does not take itself too seriously, I feel. And I think that's where Baazigar has a lot of repeat value. You can watch it from anywhere, anytime, despite knowing what all the characters are going to, you know, how they are going to end. And I think that's what I really enjoy about Abbas Mustan films. They never take themselves too seriously. I mean, Johnny Lever here, or even Vicky and Ajay, and also because I think to me Baazigar reminds me of this wonderful era before, wonderful era of the Vickys and the Ajay and Madan Chopra and Singhania, before sort of Bollywood took over the Rahul, Anjali and Tina's and Amans of the world. And I think it's sort of this time capsule, right? It came in 1993, which is just like on the cusp of Shahrukh's stardom. 2 years later, when Shahrukh did DDLJ, then he never really went back doing a Baazigar or a Dar. And to me, Baazigar in a very larger context really holds well, because it keeps reminding me of a time where all of this was happening and all of this never happened again.
Yeah.
I think I like rewatching Baazigar. It reminded me that I liked this the most out of those 4 or 5 movies that Shahrukh did, you know, and I do like it more than Dar too. And I agree with you that Dar has that stamp of Yash Raj and kind of makes it more prestige in a way. But I feel here Baazigar, I can understand Ajay's character. Like I can understand and identify a little bit more where Anjam and Ramjane was just totally out of, it went too far maybe, Dar, putting Dar aside, but then Chahat had a bit of... I really like Chahat too, by the way, now that I'm thinking about it. Although it's like a messy Mahesh Bhatt kind of movie that he just used to churn out at that time. But I think Baazigar really holds up from all of those. And it has aged a little bit in terms of things, but I think it's still a lot of...
No, I think it's incredibly stylish. When Amrita was talking about the title sequence, I remember that scene where Shahrukh and Kajol are on that boat, and there's a very wonderful shot of Kajol wearing her fancy aviators and Shahrukh's reflection on the glasses.
Yeah.
And I think that was super cool. And the way the songs were shot and the way the entire sort of film was styled and choreographed, I think Abbas Mustan were really stylish. And I again go back to Race because I think that was where I rediscovered them. And I feel these two gentlemen were such stylish filmmakers, of course, because they also come from, they're huge Vijay Anand fans and they're huge fans of Manmohan Desai. And I think those two sort of filmmaking schools really reflect particularly well in Baazigar, where you have a very strong thriller element, but you also have this very larger-than-life massy arrangement going on, which is so Manmohan Desai, Vijay Anand. And I think Baazigar captured that really well for Abbas Mustan.
Like, thinking about it, Ye Kali Kali Aankhein is almost like Oh Hasina Zulfa Wali, the hero dancing with the heroine in the nightclub, which also makes me think what would happen to that nightclub if Shahrukh and Kajol are not there every day performing.
And I really love, because the film, if you look at it, it's so much about unjust death, okay? Like, right from the first scene, it's about someone dying and then someone else dying and then Shahrukh killing people off one by one. And I mean, it goes to the bizarre level where Shahrukh even kills like a dozen fish when he throws that pot on someone's head. And it's so much about death, yet it's never really gloomy. It's never really heavy. I think that was incredible.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and I find it's sad that they kind of lost their way. I feel, they've had a long career, but I think Baazigar is probably still their best movie that they made, and then a close second with Soldier, of course. Amrita, any final thing about Baazigar you want to say?
I was also thinking, like, in the title song, there's a part where they're on this bench and Kajol being Kajol, by the way, both the women in this are like super loud. Like, I was watching this film and I was like, why are they both yelling every line? Like, both of them are like, ah! Like all the time, and I'm just like, what the hell is happening? And then I was like, oh yes, this is the 90s. Everyone talks at this pitch. But there's a point where, like, like she has to say like, na baba dar lag raha hai, and she's supposed to like do this very like Hindi film like kind of a thing, and Kajol being Kajol just couldn't do it because she was like, that's stupid, like I can't make myself do it. So apparently it was either was it Saroj Khan who was doing
that was Saroj Khan,
and Saroj Khan like tried every single thing that she could do to try and make Kajol do it, and then eventually everybody just lost their patience. So then, like, she just came across to Shahrukh and was like, Shahrukh, when that line comes down, you just pinch her waist. And Shahrukh was like, what? And she was like, do it, it'll work. So he did that and she got the expression, but as soon as the shot was over, she was about to like box his ears, and he was like, no, I wasn't trying to assault you. Like, they told me to do it because everyone wants to go home. But it made me think about like, like how like makeshift a lot of these things that we consumed in our childhood was, like it really is like like I was making jokes earlier about like half the costumes in this song looking as if they had it done by the local darzi, but they probably did have it done by the local darzi. Like, I'm sure the Burmawala brothers have like a local darzi in their neighborhood to whom they give like orders, So like a lot of it is like very, it's very organic. It's very down home. It's like a bunch of people that just came together and like made a film. And when it works, it's really charming. And I think it really works for Baazigar, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is luck and timing too. You know, like the audience was ready for a change and Shahrukh was there at the right time and also just being super, super, super talented, you know.
Yeah.
I do think that the Darzi of the Baazigar dress is the same one that Melania Trump goes to when she visits the children. It looks like the same font.
Yeah.
Sujoy, any final?
My final thought is when Babulal is in the kitchen and his sidekicks are making that Loki ki sabzi. I miss Loki ki sabzi.
Dude, I was about to buy Loki today. I was in an Asian store and I was about to buy Loki because of Baazigar. That's hilarious.
Bro.
Amazing. We share a wavelength when it comes to food.
Loki length.
Great. I still love it. It's on Prime. I think people should watch it. But my main worry is if people do start watching this movie again, Tips will remake or Venus will remake Kali Kali Aankhein with Badshah or something like that. So it is a fear because I feel why have they not remade this song? And it might happen. So.
Oh, by the way, there is a remix of Kali Kali Aankhein. It was back in the early 2000s and it was sung by Aditya Narayan as a kid.
Oh God.
I think before Badshah takes over, we need to sort of transfer power of attorney of Venus to someone else, someone more sensible.
Send the guys from Venus to Assam or something like that and then get the power of it.
Wow, Assam is not getting many good points.
Bad representation. Justin, man, this was so much fun. Where can people find you online?
Justin J. Rao, that's on Twitter.
Great. Amrita?
You can find me on Twitter at AmritaIQ and also on my YouTube channel, which is about books. It's called Amrita by the Book.
Sujoy?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at 9e3k.
I'm at Asim Bernie. You can follow us at Khandaan Podcast or leave us a review on iTunes or Apple Podcast, I think it's called. I'm still using the old term. And I don't know what we're doing next episode. So send us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. Maybe you'll give us some good ideas or let us know how much you love us, which we always love. Thanks for listening, guys.
Khandaan Podcast on the acting.
Girl, you're my chum,